Hello, and welcome to the second session of Live the Life series. Again, this series of talks is about how to live the life of the Son of God in us, how we can shine as light and salt for Jesus Christ in this world and yet not of this world. In the last session, in the first session, we talked about the 5 areas that I would like to cover. And the 5 areas are understanding the whole man, uh, the understanding the sin nature, and the whole idea of salvation that belongs to God, and also about the Holy Spirit and His ministry, our inheritance as children of God, and also concerning parables that hopefully through it we can gain wisdom that comes from God and help us to live our Christian life practically here and now on earth. Our natural life is the life of a human being, and we are not to live life like half-fledged angels or pretend to be holy men that we are not, but to be very real to God and real to ourselves, that we may present ourselves to God and have God to deal with the issues of life and issues of our hearts, that we may be circumcised in our hearts, that we may be transformed in our mind, that we be more Christ-like, not of our effort, but our obedience to Jesus Christ. So in this second session, I want to tackle the big question. We ask ourselves the big question. And the big question is this: what is life? What is life? I'm sure you have thought about it philosophically. I'm sure you have thought about it when you are in your dark moments. What's the meaning of life? When we are happy and we are enjoying our lives, you don't think much about life because, well, I guess we're having a good time. But once we are drawn to ourselves and in a quiet moments, or when we visit a funeral, or when we meet with tough situations in our life, sometimes we are depressed. Depression is common in men. I think it's also a tool whereby we come to really realize ourselves that we, in certain situations, many situations, in fact, we cannot help ourselves. We begin to question our own existence. We begin to question what's the meaning of life. I remember when I was 10 years old or less, lying on my bed, somehow my mind wandered and began to think about life. I don't know why I did that at 10 years old or less, but I did wonder about life. I wonder, what is life all about? Why am I here? But of course, I didn't have the answer. I was too young to understand. But it just crossed my mind. What is life all about? I remember that moment. It's a picture in my mind. So that was at 10 years old. And I've gone through also difficult patches in my life. Tough patches in my life. But through it all, I think it's a learning lesson for me to know who I am, a mere human being, and to realize that there is someone greater than me, greater than all the things that I'm facing, and that someone is what we commonly term as God. Yes, I was born again at 16 years old, but I came to know God personally, deeply, when I was at about 40 years old. I began to know Him, and I began to discover what life is all about. And today we are asked the big question: what is life? There are two areas that we can tackle this, and this is common with human beings. That is one, philosophical. Philosophical in the sense that we question ourselves, what is life? And we think about life. We try to make meaning of life. And in the Bible, there is a great man called King Solomon, and he wrote the book called Ecclesiastes. And in the book of Ecclesiastes, he talks about life. He has tried everything foreseeable, everything possible in life. He's been a botanist, an architect. He has 700 wives, 300 concubines, and he ate the best, dressed the best, and did the best. All that you can imagine on us, he has tried it in the natural life. And he said this: vanity of all vanities. Life is like a vapor. Meaningless, he said, meaningless. Because this life that he talks philosophically is this, that he could not find satisfaction that could sustain. Perhaps he could find some happiness, but happiness does not last. At the end of the day, there's an emptiness in his heart. That was King Solomon. Even in today's psychology, as we study psychology, there is the other aspect with regard to existential aspect of life. Existential meaning to say that here I am. Existential means my existence. And we try to find meaning of my own existence by myself. Existentialism deals a lot with self rather than the meaning of life, but deal with self. That we preserve ourselves. We care more for ourselves than others, so that I may gain what I wish to gain and enjoy my own space, my own resources, and in a way selfish to myself, irrespective of those that are around us. We live for ourselves. We live to find meaning for ourselves. And that is existentialism. It's got to do with survival. Meaning of life for myself. Versus philosophical, the broad meaning of life. What is life all about? So, many of us go through this thinking, this sort of thinking. What is the meaning of life? And some find no meaning. At the end of the day, they committed suicide. And that is very sad. Because life and meaning cannot be found in our own rationalization. We can think about it, we can talk about it, but really we can't find the answer. And on the other hand, existentialism or living for myself, you become withdrawn. Yes, you will not also be able to satisfy yourself because in you will always be looking after yourself. You want to keep your own space. No one is supposed to come near you. You keep your money. You hoard your money. You protect yourself. And you keep away from others that you consider harmful to you. At the end of the day, no man is an island to himself. You become miserable. And perhaps even draw in similar friends. And there can be no peace. So there's a philosophical, there's an existentialism, but this does not answer life. What is life? What is life? Where did it come from? Why life? We are born into life. It began centuries ago. It began in the beginning of the world where God made men and women. And men and women are made out of mud. According to the Bible, God took mud and breathed into that mud and became a living soul. And from there, man was created and man lived by the breath of God. And it's true. If we were to shut our nose long enough and not breathe, we will die. But if we are not conscious of it, and our lungs just simply cause us to breathe, and we are alive. We with our breath, has no control over it. It is a gift. Life is a gift. And we are born into life. There is a design when he created man, and there is a maker. Where is the life? Where is the life? Known or unknown to you, there are 3 levels of life. Where is the life? There are 3 levels of life. There is the body life, there is the self life, and there is a spirit life. Most of us live either in the body life or in the soul life, meaning your self life. What do I mean by body life and self life? Body life are the people that are being caught or addicted to please how they how they are seen, or to be satisfied by the kind of food that they eat, that they live for their body. They live to look good in their body, to exhibit in their body, that they will give them pride, and they focus a lot on the outer aspect of the body. They must look good, seem to be good, and also, addicted in some way to making their body perfect. In a self-life, it has got to do with your own pride of life. The pride of life. That we must have the intelligence, or we must be accepted by others, and our ego must look good. And it's all about me, my, and I. A person may be poor, but he may want to be accepted in society. It's all about his self-life. He's looking good. He's able to get to a place high above himself. But there's another area of life that is called the spirit life. And this is not often talked about. And this spirit life got to do with your inner life. Because inside us there is a spirit. There is a spirit. And if this spirit life is not alive, then what dominates is your soul life or your body life. But Jesus said, I come to give you life, and life abundantly. This life that Jesus talked about is your spirit life. When we are born into this world, in actual fact, we are born into sin. And as a result of that sin, our spirit life remains dead, so to speak, in darkness. But when we receive Jesus Christ, our spirit man is replaced by the light of Christ, by the life of Christ in us, by the resurrection life of God in us. And our spirit and His spirit become one. This is stated in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 17, that the Spirit of God and our spirit become one. There is oneness and unity in that spirit man. Jesus said, I come to give you life, and life abundantly. This is the life that we should focus on as to how to live it out. As to how to live our self-life, we are taught even from school. We are taught from the Greek system as to how to reason, how to rationalize, and etc. And also we are taught in society as to how to live the bio life, or the physical life, the body life. That we should behave in certain ways, seen to be in certain way, acceptable in certain ways. But in the spirit life, we deal with the life of the Son of God. We deal with things that are spiritual, and yet live out in the natural. Jesus said, I come to give you this life. This is the life of Himself in us. This life is what gives us the peace. Because we must remember, we don't belong to ourselves. We did not make ourselves. We are made by a maker whom we call God. And when we receive Him, He is our Father. And His life, the life of His Son, is in us. And when we relate to the Father through Jesus Christ, His Son, whatever that we ask in His name, in His nature, the nature of the Son of God, all our prayers are heard and answered. Most of us want to live good lives. In other words, not evil. Most of us want to live a holy life. We want to be able to contribute to society. We want to be able to be a good model even for our family. But Jesus said this, unless you abide in me and I in you, unless you abide, He says, you can do nothing of this. Yes, you can do many things of your own strength that will produce that result. But all that we do in the flesh cannot please God. And all that we do in the flesh cannot bring peace. Because there is the stain of sin. And there is a wisdom in us that is of a selfish nature. And we cannot overcome this by ourselves. But we can certainly overcome this through the renewal of our mind and through abiding in Jesus Christ. That by the power of God in us and by the Spirit that dwells in us, that enable us to overcome this temptation, overcome this sin that we may have that abundant life. And as we overcome, we have the overcoming life. Now, we will just stop here for now because I just want to bring about the big question of life for you to think about. That this life is not to live for ourselves. And if we were to think hard about philosophically about life, by ourselves we will find no answers. Yes, the world teaches us to live and to look good in the world. The world teaches us to be able to excel in life. But the world does not teach us that there is a spirit world and there is a spirit within us. And this is the Spirit of God that is in us for those who are born again. That if we allow the Spirit of God to work through us and we abide in Christ, this Spirit life will work through us. And when we know how to cooperate with this life that God has given to us, He will give us the righteousness, the peace, and the joy in the Spirit. That we're able to live life fruitfully, peacefully, and joyfully. See you again next time. Bye for now.